Okay, so we know that in a foreclosure is basically a sale where the sale price is your share of the outstanding loan amount. But the big question comes in determining that outstanding loan amount, what it is, because most of the times it's hard to know the exact amount uh, at the time of the foreclosure or even after the foreclosure. Because here's what happens: suppose your sponsor on a TIC property sends you a balance sheet and it says the loan amount is $12 million. Is that how much was paid off at the foreclosure? Uh, it was probably paid off then, but it was reduced by certain items. You see, what happens is the lenders on these properties, they're not uh, total idiots, and so they get you to put money aside uh, for various things, and you hold it in their bank. And if you don't spend it for those things, and the property goes into foreclosure, you don't get that money. It goes to the lender to pay down the mortgage balance. So let's say in the example where you've got a $12 million loan, property goes into foreclosure. You haven't been getting any distributions from that property for maybe a year, 2 years. The sponsor told you they were stopping distributions to try to save the property. But the truth is, in most cases, they can't make distributions because the lender won't let them. All the rents that they're collecting, they go to the lender in what's called a lockbox. The lender controls that, and and you don't get that money unless the lender says it's okay. And if you go to foreclosure, the lender's not going to give you that money. They're going to apply it to the loan. So let's take an example I'm working on now, where the property is Tick Cherry Road, and the loan balance was about $12 million. But here's the thing: in addition to the $12 million, the bank was holding about $552,000 in what they called lockbox funds. There was, I don't know, 50 or $100,000 in the operating account for the property. There's another couple $100,000 in a reserve for taxes and insurance, and another 300,000 and change in reserves for tenant improvements. And I'm just giving you rough numbers. I'm not reading the exact numbers. Altogether, is about $1 million sitting at the lender in bank accounts. That's the investor's money. Now that property went into foreclosure, and the investor or the lender took all that $1 million and they used it to pay down the loan. So if you're looking at your balance sheet on that property, it says the loan is somewhere around $12 million. I think 12,275,000 and change. But that wasn't the amount of debt that was written off by the bank. The amount that they used to calculate the sales price, you have to subtract that $1 million and change that the bank took of your money, because all that $1 million, that 550,000 that's in the lockbox, that money was rental income that you received and paid taxes on, and then you never got the money. The bank took it to pay down the loan. So if you don't reduce the loan proceeds, you're in effect you're counting that income twice. It's very important to find out those numbers. And just think of this: if you were an investor in Cherry Road and you had, say, a 6% interest, and you calculated, suppose you calculated everything right, and you had a gain on the sale of that property of $25,000, but you hadn't counted these lockbox amounts and the amounts set aside for reserves that went to pay down that loan. That's another $60,000 in reduction in the sale price. And now, instead of having a $25,000 gain, you've got a $35,000 loss. And let me tell you, that's going to make a big difference in your taxes. And it's just one reason why you really need a tax professional that understands tax and knows what's happening with them. Because otherwise, your tax guy, your local tax guy, he's just looking at the information he has. Very likely he doesn't know what lockbox funds are, or what tenant improvement reserves are, because TIC properties are really the only properties that he might deal with that have those things. And so without an understanding of how they're applied, very likely you're going to pay more taxes. Everybody has questions about income taxes and about finances, and I have answers.